Hello viewers, this is Manas welcoming you to the series You the Oracle Expert, your one-stop shop to learn and practice Oracle database administration and Unix with hands-on experiments using Oracle VirtualBox virtual machines. Build your knowledge base, confidence, and make your way to be an expert Oracle DBA. In today's tutorial, we are going to create a database growth trend report using last 1 year's tablespace size metric available in OEM and a very powerful yet simple reporting and dashboarding application from Microsoft called Power BI. As a DBA, you are already aware of what is OEM and how useful it is for us, but Power BI is not something DBAs are usually familiar with. Microsoft Power BI is a very useful tool that provides business analytics service with interactive visualizations and intelligence capabilities for end users to create their own reports and dashboards. The desktop version of Power BI is free to download from Microsoft, and I have given below the link to download it. You can download and install it and learn to create informative and interactive reports and dashboards. You need to have ODEC or Oracle Data Access Client installed in your desktop for Power BI to work with Oracle databases. You can download ODEC from Oracle for free. You need to have proper Power BI license to publish your work at enterprise level or share the reports through web links within your organization. But you can still create useful reports like I am showing in this demo today using the free version. Let me open my test database growth trend report and explain how you can create a similar report in your environment. In this report, I am showing growth trend of all my critical production databases for the last 12 months, plus the current month, that is October 2021, along with an extrapolation of the next 3 months and 6 months storage requirement, which will be January and April 2022 respectively, based on the current average plus 25% extra added to be in a safer side. The characteristics of this report are: it shows the database along with the average monthly growth in gigabytes. If a month's growth is equal or below average, it will be shown in green. If a month's growth is more than the average by less than 30%, then it will be shown in white. If a month's growth is more than the average by 30 to 49%, then it will be shown in yellow. And if a month's growth is more than the average by 50% or more, then it will be shown in pink. Blank white cells mean the database was not present during those months. For example, this database was created only on June 2021, so all the cells for the previous months are blank here. And the last two blue columns are showing the storage requirement for the next 3 and 6 months. This is a very useful report for the DBAs to plan for future growth and detect any growth pattern or anomaly. The best thing is it is using the data which is already available in OEM repository. All you need to do is to write a proper SQL query to extract the data from OEM repository and feed it to the Power BI. So before I create a report in Power BI, let's take a look at the SQL query that I am using to pull the growth data from OEM repository database. Let's take a look at the SQL query that is going to be used to pull the growth data from OEM repository database. I am using Toad here to explain the SQL statement. It's a very complex query using many hierarchical functions, groupings, summings, and averaging, and needs to be run as a DBA. Please note that the SQL output is linear, but in Power BI, we are going to use this data to create a matrix or cross report. So database targets will be in rows and the calendar months will be in columns. I'm going to simplify and explain how this SQL statement is working, and it's important to understand so you can make modifications to meet your requirement if needed. You can copy it from my Google Drive using the download link that I have given in the description of this video below. So let's take a look at the SQL statement. I'm using subquery factoring using with clause and preparing the data to be extracted with the help of multiple subqueries here. The first subquery, that is represented by the T1, is actually gathers the size information available in OEM against each database for each day by summing up tablespace utilization. The second subquery is averaging the size of each database group by month. The third subquery is calculating the running total of size and increment size of each database group by month. The fourth subquery is calculating the average growth size of each database by month. And the fifth subquery is calculating the increment factor to determine the cell colors and extrapolation for next 3 to 6 months requirement. The final or the parent query is formatting the data in the required order and look, which will be then presented to Power BI. Now let's see what customization we can do in this SQL statement so it fits your requirement. In this first subquery, I am selecting the databases for which I need the report by putting an in list of OEM target names for those databases in the where clause. For your environment, you have to change this list with your database target names. In the fifth subquery, I am calculating the increase factor based on certain thresholds. You can change the thresholds as per your requirement. Also, while extrapolating, I am adding a 25% extra. You can change it as per your requirement. Now we'll go to the Power BI console to create the report. After closing the splash screen, the Power BI console will look like this. And I am using Power BI version 2.91.701 64-bit, which was released on March 2021. And the Oracle database version is Oracle 18c. First, let's save the report with a name DB Growth Trend Report. And it will have an extension .pbix and press the save button. Next, go to the home menu, click on this Get Data button. Then go to More, Database, Oracle Database, and then press the Connect button. In this screen, we have to supply the connection parameters to the database, which will be the server name, the listener port number, / the database SID or the service name, whichever is registered with your listener. In my case, the host name or the server name is adminserver.manash.home. The port number is 1521 and the SID is rep OEM. And this is my OEM repository database. We'll select the import option under data connectivity mode. Expand these advanced options. Under this, we will leave the command timeout as blank. And in the SQL statement box, we'll supply one simple SQL statement as select sysdate from dual. This SQL statement is just for testing that the connection has been established and we are able to extract some data from the database. Then click OK. In this screen, we'll select the second option, database, and we'll put the username as system. You can put any DBA user in this database. We need a DBA user because we are going to access the tables and views owned by the sysman user, which is the owner of the OEM repository database. Then we'll put the password for the system user and then press the connect button. So it is able to connect, and it is also displaying the data, that is the sysdate we are extracting from the database using our test select statement, and then press the load button. It will take a few seconds to load the data, and now we can see that our query is here with the name query 1. Now we will replace this test query with the actual query that we designed to extract the growth data from the OEM repository database. Now to modify or replace this query, click on these three dots in the right hand side, then go to Edit Query, then press the Advanced Editor button. Now to replace this test query in between these two double quotes, I will simply paste the actual query that I already copied from Toad. As our query is already tested, it is going to work just fine. Make sure that you do not introduce any new spaces or blank lines in between these two double quotes. Then press the Done button, and it will ask for permission to run the query. Press on this Edit Permission button, then press the Run button. And now the actual data that we are going to use to create our report is displayed in this grid. Close this window and make sure to save the changes. And the new query is listed here along with all the required fields. Now click on this Data tab here. We'll check whether Power BI has correctly converted the Oracle data to its own format. Target name, which is shown as text, is correct. Month, which is also shown as text, is not correct because in Oracle this column is of type date. Size is shown as decimal number, that is correct. The average increment, that is also decimal number, and increase factor is also correct. So we'll convert this month field to take the data type as date. Otherwise, we will have issues in maintaining the order of the data. Press OK to continue. And also we have to adjust the format here because we don't want this long format. Instead, we want a short format with 3-letter month and a 4-digit year. So in this format box, we will simply put MMMYYYY and press Enter. So this is the final look of the month field. Go to the report option again. Now to design the report, we have to place a visual called matrix visual on this canvas. We'll click on this visual called matrix and it will place the control or the visual on this canvas. And we'll drag it down a little so that we can make some room for a report header and expand it. Now the fields we want to display in this report, we have to select from this list and then we will simply drag and drop on these boxes. We want to display this target name on the rows and the month on the columns, and the size GB will be displayed on the cells as values. So the target name will go to the rows, the field month will go to column. We don't need the date hierarchy here, so click on this drop down and select the month option and then drag and drop the size field in the value box. So our matrix grid is now populated with the required data. Now we'll format this grid as per our requirement. First, let's make the report background as black. Select the page, then go to this format option, expand the background, select the black color and reduce the transparency to 0. Now in this grid, we don't need these row totals and column totals. To switch off the subtotals, we'll select the grid, then go to this format option, select subtotals and switch off the row subtotals and the column subtotals. Next, we'll reduce the height of this grid a little so we can make some room for a legend. Also, we want these column headers to be in white font and black background. So expand the column headers option under formatting options, select the font color as white background color as black, and the font family will select a little bold one, and the size will be 11. As we don't need the decimal places in these size values here, go to field formatting, and when the size GB is selected as the field, we'll put the decimal places as 0, and this will get rid of all the decimal places. And we'll switch off the background of this matrix visual, which is not needed. And we will expand the target name a little. We are still keeping some space in the right, so a scroll bar can appear when the number of rows increases in the grid. Now we'll do the most interesting part of this report, that is the conditional formatting of the cells. So the cells will display different colors based on conditions. To do that, when the grid or the matrix visual is selected, click on this conditional formatting under the formatting options. The conditional formatting will be done only for this particular field named size GB. Switch on the background color and click on the advanced control. It will be a rule-based condition, and it will be applied on the values only. Based on the field named increase factor, which will determine what color will be taken by the cell. Let's take the summarization as average. So when the value is 0, number, then the background color will be green. Add a new rule. When the value is greater than 0, number, and less than or equal to 1, number, then the cell background will be white. Add a new rule. When the value is greater than 1, number, and less than or equal to 2, number, then the cell background will be yellow. Add a new rule. When the value is greater than 2, number, and less than or equal to 3, number, then the cell background will be pink. Add a new rule. When the value is greater than -2, number, and less than 0, number, then the cell background will be blue. So the logic behind this field increase factor, having different values like 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, etc. are defined in the 5th subquery or the main or parent query of our SQL statement. In the main query, you will be able to see that the two extrapolated columns, which are representing the next 3 months and 6 months growth respectively, are assigned with an increase factor of -1, and that condition is being satisfied in this last rule. Now all our conditions are set here. Press the OK button. And now we can see that the cells have changed their color based on the conditions that we set in the conditional formatting. Now we'll make the font in this grid a little bold so they become a little easier to understand. Go to the formatting option, select values, and under values, select a little bold font. Similarly, we'll also make the target names a little bold. Under formatting options, select the row header and select a little bold font. So this has completed the formatting of the grid or the matrix visual. Now we'll add a header to this report. Select this text box here. Write down the text as database growth trend report, and below we'll put size in GB. Now we'll place it at the top of the report and extend the length to the fullest. Now we'll format this text box. Go to formatting option, switch off the background so it becomes transparent. Set the font color as white. Center align the text. Set the font size as 18 and bold. And the second line of text, that is the size GB, will also be bold and the size will be 12. Now the last thing we need to do is to put a legend at the bottom so the reader of this report understands what these colors mean. So we'll put another text box at the bottom. Extend the length. Switch off the background so it becomes transparent. The font color will be white and we'll put the word legend there. And we'll put a line below it to describe what each color means. So we'll put numerical cell colors dash green colon growth less than equal to average, comma white growth less than 30% of average, comma yellow growth between 30% to 49% of average, pink growth greater than equals to 50% of average. Then the blue means next 3 to 6 months required GB. Now we'll increase the font size of the legend word to 11 and bold, and also we'll change the font size and the color of the description below. Make it bold and the size to 11. The first sentence we will make it green. The second one will be left as white. Third one we will make it yellow. The fourth one will be made pink, and the last one will be made blue. So our report is complete now. Now if you don't have a professional license for Microsoft Power BI, then you have to refresh this report manually to fetch the latest data whenever required, and you can send this report as a screenshot to your teammates or other people who are interested as email attachments. But if you have a professional license, then the life becomes easier. You can publish your report at enterprise level. You can share the report to other people as a web link, and whoever has that link can access directly. And also you can schedule this report to be refreshed periodically on certain times, so it always has the latest data. So viewers, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Please hit the like button if you liked it and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss an episode in this series for the Oracle DBS or similar educational videos that I am uploading every week.